lot of the political experts and pundits are very focused on Pennsylvania and basically saying that whoever wins Pennsylvania wins the White House. I'm not saying it's not important, but I mean, if Vice President Harris loses Michigan, she has very few options for getting 270 electoral votes. So I think Michigan is just as critical. And by the numbers, I failed math, but there's about 150,000 or so registered voters, Arab American voters out of Dearborn.
Yes.
And Biden won Michigan by about 150,000 votes. So it seems to me if you lose enough voters here, Harris, she probably will lose Michigan.
Yeah, 100%. The fact that Biden in 2020 could not win his race to the White House without Michigan, and that win came from Muslim and largely from Muslim and Arab American voters. Like you said, he won Michigan by roughly 155,000 votes, and there was 145,000 Muslim and Arab Americans that voted in that election. I voted for Biden at that time. I organized and built a voting block of my community members and friends and family to vote for Joe Biden at that time, based on the campaign promises that he used while he was here in Michigan, that Arab Americans and Muslim Americans would not have to face the dehumanization and the demonization that we were experiencing through the Trump presidency and through policies like the Muslim ban. Only for us to now feel this very deep betrayal, not only by Biden and his administration, but the Democratic Party, who have not shown that they care about what is happening to our brothers and sisters in Palestine. There are folks here in Dearborn, Michigan, who know firsthand the impact of American-funded bombs. And right now, we are pretty much faced with an impossible choice, even with VP Harris as the presumptive nominee, because we haven't seen that shift in policy yet from her. We are being asked to choose between a candidate that supports a far right-wing government to carry out war crimes against Palestinians, or a far right-wing government here at home that right now threatens to reenact policies like the Muslim ban, and also to give the green light to Netanyahu and his right-wing government to, quote unquote, finish the job.
Yeah. And honestly, as we speak, I mean, this could expand with what's going on with Lebanon and Israel. So there's no evidence that the current Prime Minister of Israel wants this war to end for various political reasons. So if Harris is elected, so far she's shown no indication, aside from more sympathetic crocodile tears, that she would change the policy. Obviously, you can't speak for all of Dearborn, but do you get a feel from people, if she doesn't pledge something specific that would be different policy-wise, that people are just as uncommitted to voting for her?
I think right now we need more than ever from VP Harris a guarantee that she will adopt the demands of our movement and adopt the demands of this coalition that are asking and demanding the end of the killing of Palestinians and occupation of Palestinians. And we just haven't gotten that yet from VP Harris. I think folks are remaining optimistic because of, she has been more empathetic and more sympathetic to Palestinians. She's talked about Palestinian right to self-determination. She has talked about mothers that are suffering in Gaza right now as they're experiencing the assault from Israel. But I will quote something that a doctor who was just in Gaza on the front lines providing testimony to the human impact of our U.S. policy decisions, Dr. Firoz. And what he said actually has stuck with me since he said it just last week, that yes, VP Harris has been more sympathetic in her language and in her messaging when it comes to these war crimes against Palestinians. But Palestinian children cannot eat words. And Palestinian children's limbs will not grow back because of these words. And right now, what we need desperately is a policy shift, a turn of page away from Biden's current policy, and a policy that will end the senseless killing of Palestinians and occupation of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank.
Also, I follow the money.
Yeah.
I mean, we know with Biden, some of the co-chairs of his campaign are very wealthy. Jeffrey Katzenberg, very pro-Israel. Some of the biggest donors to the Democratic Party, Haim Saban, net worth of $3 billion.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the same donors to Vice President Harris.
Right.
It seems like she's trying to straddle the line a little bit between appearing more empathetic but not ruffling those who feed the money. But at the end of the day, I mean, she hasn't. I mean, last week, right-wing extremist ministers in Israel barged into what seems like a torture camp where a detainee was allegedly sodomized. She didn't say anything about that. What are your thoughts on? It seems like she is still taking money from very, very wealthy Zionists.
I think she's also shown that she doesn't need to take funds from these entities. The fact that she was able to raise, I can't remember what the number was, but in less than 24 hours, there was a call with black women for Kamala who raised, I can't remember what the amount was, but I think it has shown that she actually can raise millions of dollars for her campaign without taking funding from pro-Israel donors or Zionist donors. And I hope that when our demand is met for the Uncommitted National Movement and for our uncommitted delegates to meet with VP Harris, those are some of the things that we hope to talk about, as well as the priority of demanding a policy shift right now that ends the killing of Palestinians.
Right. And can you kind of talk about, we were talking earlier, some people in the kind of pro-Palestinian community here are more aggressive and kind of want to burn it down, abandon Biden movement, vote third party or just don't vote. But you were saying it's taken many years to even get the Democratic Party to listen to you. So the Uncommitted movement prefers trying to work within the Democratic Party. Can you kind of talk about the process that it took just to get them to even entertain Palestinian rights?
Right. I think I want to recognize my community's pain and grief and frustration. And I understand that feeling right now of like, burn it all down. We need to punish the Democratic Party. We need to punish Biden. And for me, I'm also trying to be politically strategic while I'm demanding that Democrats and progressives and this administration and VP Harris recognize the humanity of Palestinians, my family members in Palestine. And it's incredibly hard sometimes. So I understand the perspective of my community members who are grieving. We're watching a genocide unfold in front of our TV screens and our phone screens every single day, horrific images and the testimony of Palestinians enduring the most unmanageable assault we've ever seen. And so at the same time, Arab Americans and Muslim Americans have been working and organizing for decades to have, a seat at the table, the seat at the decision-making table, for our voices to be recognized as credible and legitimate within the Democratic Party. And largely it has been the Democratic Party that Arab Americans and Muslim Americans have flexed our political power. It is the Democratic Party where we were able to elect people like Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, my sister, where we were able to elect, squad members, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley. So I see that there is utility for our movement within the Democratic Party. And right now, those are the two options where we can actually leverage our power is through the two-party system. I believe that third party right now, although it would be amazing to actually have viability, our elections are not set up for third party to actually win presidential elections. Until we do organizing and work to shift that, right now, a vote for third party is a vote for policy change. But you also run the risk of moving those votes from a Democratic candidate to a Republican candidate, which for some folks, that is fine because they believe that the Democratic Party needs to be betrayed at this moment and needs to be punished as we've been betrayed and punished as a community. I think that there would be a welcome to the exit of Arab Americans and Muslim Americans from those decision-making tables, from those policy-making tables. And I'm not going to make it that easier for them.
You think the leaders of the Democratic Party would not mind you exiting?
I think so. I think they would love to have it as business as usual and vote blue no matter who. And we have been the folks pushing on that no, it's not vote blue no matter who. We need a policy change that reflects the core tenets of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party says they're the party of liberation and human rights and dignity. And so we need their policies to reflect that. And right now, supporting genocide and supporting a right-wing government and supporting Netanyahu, who is a war criminal, it does not align. And so we need, right now, we need to be in those spaces where we are heard. The fact that I always look to that image of Rashida alone with her war criminal sign in Congress as Netanyahu is addressing all of these Republicans. And I think, wow, what would it take to revolutionize our democracy so Rashida is not there alone?
Right.
And those are the things that I think about and why I will continue using the vehicle of the Democratic Party to make the necessary or do the necessary work and the necessary organizing and hopefully have the necessary wins where we can eventually see a liberated Palestine. But right now, what we need is an immediate end to the killing and occupation of Palestinians. We need to lift the embargo on Gaza once we are able to adopt a policy that ends the killing using American-funded bombs.